quick message to you all that after 2 years of requests, ever since we released the House Barbell, we are now ready to reveal the Weightlifting House plates. To find out more about the specs and to pre-order yourself a set or some individual pairs, check out the link in the description. Hello and welcome back to this week's episode of the Weightlifting House podcast with your host Seb Ostrovich, the voice of the people, joined of course by the people's scientist Joshua Gibson. Josh, how are you doing today?
I'm doing well, and it's an honor to be joined by, I think, the strongest person we've ever had on the podcast, pound for pound.
Yeah, absolutely. We have the people's Brazilian Fernando Reis on the podcast. Fernando, how are you doing?
I'm doing fantastic, brother. Thank you so much for having me here. It's a pleasure to be with you guys.
No problem at all. I think Josh is right. You're certainly the strongest person we've ever had on the podcast. And I think you're probably the strongest person I've ever had a proper conversation with. So that's pretty cool. I've seen some strong people, but I've actually got to speak to you, which is kind of cool.
That's it.
So how are you? I mean, I just heard Josh told me that you were just finishing up some food. So I'm kind of interested to know, what does the strongest person on the other side of the world from me, what does the strongest person eat for lunch?
Well, right now I just had a little bit of pasta and I had a little bit of steak. Actually, right now I'm not eating very much because I'm just trying to keep my body weight. I'm about like 155 kilos. So whenever I have to like gain weight, I have to eat a lot. But right now I just have to eat like normal just to keep my body weight.
Okay. And is 155 about where you normally sit? Or are you, when you compete at the big competition, do you go up a little bit?
I try to go up a little bit whenever I'm doing like the base period of my program. I try to go like to 158 or maybe 159. I've weighted before 160, but whenever I'm doing like lifts, the snatch and the clean and jerk, I don't feel very comfortable like with this weight because I got like so fat that the first position gets like awful, man. Like on the snatch, it's horrible. So I just try to like gain a little bit of weight, so I boost a little bit of my power. But once I'm moving towards the more technical part of the program, I tend to cut a little bit, so I feel a little bit better.
That makes sense.
And if anyone has watched you lift, you're just so fast. Do you notice there's a change in speed when you gain that much weight? Like you slow down, or do you kind of maintain that all the way through?
No, absolutely. When I put like it's not even that much. We're talking like about like a small percentage, but I was just like thinking. I said, man, I'm competing against like Glasha. The guy like he weighs 170 kilos. Like 175. And I'm about like 154, 155. I was like, so in my mind, I said, I'm gonna try to push as heavy as I can be. But then whenever like, I was about like 159, 158, 160, like I was pretty slow. My flexibility wasn't on point. My front rack position was horrible. So I said, man, there's no point for me. Like I was squatting a lot and I was doing a lot of like deadlifts or snatch pulls, clean pulls. And I was feeling pretty strong, but I was slow. The lifts were horrible. So I said, there's no point for me to be that fat, So I tried just to cut a little bit for the competition. It's still like fat, but not that fat.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I think you definitely are the fastest snatcher amongst the supers. I mean, there's like, Termanidze, the other Georgian, he's pretty quick. And Gormanassian is low-key kind of fast in the snatch. But I think you are certainly the fastest lifter out there. So kind of interested to talk a little bit more about maybe your programming and how that happened. But before we do, I realized I haven't actually introduced you. I assume everybody knows who you are already, just because you're the strongest guy on that side of the world. But for those who don't know, I mean, Fernando, you're a 3-time Pan Am Games champion. You're a 3 times Pan Am Championships champion. You hold all of the Pan American records in the snatch, clean and jerk, and at 201, 242, 440. I think those are the numbers. Yeah. Are there any other major sort of titles that I've left off there that's really important? I mean, you placed 4th at Worlds as well, which is huge.
Yeah, I placed 4th at Worlds. I would say that one of the I would consider like a really important title for me was the bronze medal at Junior Worlds. For me was very nice. So it was the first world medal for Brazil, but I still haven't got my world medal in the seniors, so I'm working on that. and also to get my Olympic medal. You know, it's been
course.
tough, but we're in the right direction.
Absolutely. So you got a junior world medal, and as far as I know, you started weightlifting when you were 11 years old. So let's take it all the way back to then. How did an 11-year-old find weightlifting? Because weightlifting, as far as I know, it's, you know, in the UK, it's not a hugely popular sport. In Brazil, it's not like it's the most popular sport. I mean, you guys have football, which is everything in Brazil, is everything over here as well in the UK. So how did you find weightlifting of all sports?
No, absolutely. Like weightlifting is not popular at all. I used to do like a lot of different sports. My dad was a power lifter, and I'm members of Esporte Clube Pinheiros. It's a sports club in Brazil. It's the biggest sports club in South America, where they have a bunch of different sports. You have judo, swimming, like all the Olympic sports you have in the club. It's like really big. And we had like a couple like we have like Olympic medalists in judo, Olympic medals in swimming. So I grew up in this environment. And my dad at the time when I was 10, 11 years old, my dad, he was the director of the Olympic weightlifting session, you know, Olympic weightlifting sector. So my older brother, now he works with me, he's Coach Horacio. He used to train back then, but just for fun, you know. So, and I used to go to the Olympic weightlifting part of the club to meet my dad and my brother, so we could go like to my house. And back at the day, I was like 10, 11 years old. I got an invitation from the coach there. I said, "Hey, would like to try Olympic weightlifting?" And I was like, I guess so. I don't know what is that, you know. I used to do judo back then, and I said, yeah, it's gonna be good for you to judo. You know, you're gonna get stronger, so you can like throw people in the floor. I was like, oh, okay, that sounds good for me. So I start training, and like really like after a few months, I really got into like I really liked the movements, and I remember that back then I used to train, and my coach used to give me like some like small tasks like homework. You're gonna go home and you're gonna study the second pull. You're gonna study the first pull. Which muscles are being used? How you can like improve. So for me, it was really like a learning process, which I learned like about the movement and I was like training at the same time. So for me, it was really, really good. That's how pretty much I got into Olympic lifting.
Yeah, and one thing we found with people who are at this high of a level is they always start off with just an incredible base, and they're normally much stronger than a majority of people. So when you started weightlifting, what was like your squat at, or what were your strength movements at? Like, what was your foundation before you kind of started on this journey?
So my foundation, I used to play soccer, and I used to play also judo, But once I started, like I remember my first competition, I was 11 years old. I think that I snatched 47 kilos and I clean and jerk 55. Yeah. And that was like after a few months that I was training, you know. I always had like a good snatch, and back then my clean and jerk wasn't that good. I used to like suffer a lot, like standing up. Like we thought that my legs were weak, and later on we found out that it wasn't. But that's another story. And pretty much like my foundation was building the sport. That's why like I've been for so long, like training so long, so consistently, and a good right now, like looking into perspective, that my coach, he didn't know like much about like how to start like a young kid in the sport, and I didn't know as well because I was super young and I was a little kid. And what was really good back then, that he not allowed me to take any supplements. You're not allowed to take any vitamins. He was like, it's forbidden. You know, we're not even going to talk about it. Because I remember when I started like traveling and seeing other lifters, I said, man, I'm horrible. You know, like those guys are super strong and I'm horrible. Like I'm super weak. And I think that was implemented by my dad as well on my mind. Said there's nothing like time, you know, you got to put your time on it, you know, like it's going to take like a long time for you to develop, but if you keep consistent, if you don't get injured, you're going to be good. So I said, all right. So we work so like consistently I never like took like a long time, a period of not training, you know. For me, After the 2018 World Championships that I got my knee surgery, there was the longest period that I haven't like snatched in my life, you know. So pretty much I've been consistent throughout my life. That's how I developed myself, and that's how like I increase my power and my strength.
That's really interesting what you were saying just before then about how your coach would ask you to go home and almost do homework. Like when you're doing a lift from the hang, do you feel it in your lower back and all of that sort of stuff? And I've never heard of a coach doing that, especially to younger athletes. Do you feel like because you had to mentally switch on and think about what was happening with your body, that accelerated the learning process of how to snatch and clean and jerk? Do you think it really helped develop?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And it helped in a way that that like it's hard to express, because I would feel my body like working, and I knew like exactly the positions that I was going through. And also for me, I was really lucky to start really young. You know, there's something that you can only develop when you start super young. Of course that you have like some special athletes who start like later, like when you're like 20s. But if you start like below, like when you're like under 12, under 11, I think that's the best age to start. So you really start training like your nervous system, and you understand how is the connection muscle and brain, and how you can be that fast whenever you're doing like anything. So I think I was really lucky on that for sure.
Yeah. And it probably helped develop you as a coach now, just to understand when you're coaching other athletes exactly what it is that they need to do. But so at what point then did you kind of realize I am going to be a really good lifter? Or like at what point did people start recognizing that you had some talent? When did you join the team, like nationally? Like how did that next period transition for you?
So like nationally in Brazil, as you mentioned, weightlifting is a little bit more popular right now because of CrossFit. But back then, nobody knew what it was. So I pretty much broke all the junior records, all the records under 15. So for me, was a natural like process of winning the competitions and putting like new records. But for me, like the turning point of my career was at when I was a junior. I told myself I want to be like the best in the world as a new junior. Yeah. And then I went to my first junior world championships. I said, man, I'm really far away from being the best. You know, those guys are lifting much more than I am right now. So I said, okay, let's be a little bit realistic. Let's get a medal. Okay. If I can get a medal, it's fine. So I went back in the next year, 2009, and that was in Romania, and I placed 8th. And I told my dad, I said, listen, if I don't place like in between the 3 best in the world, I'm going to quit weightlifting. I'm going to do something else. I'm going to, I don't know, pursue like a different career. And my dad said, oh, okay, well, how are you going to do that? Oh, we need to develop a plan. I said, let's go to Chile, because back then the Christian Escalante was the best super heavy in the Pan Americans. He was the Pan American record holder. He was a really good lifter. And he was, and I met him in 2007 at the Pan Am Games in Rio. Yeah. And the guy was super good. Like, and funny story, in Pan Am Games in Rio, I placed last in the 94 division. I was in last place. No. In Rio, yeah. But I was like 17 years old, so I had that in my pocket. I said, like, I'm super young still. Like, I snatched 140 and I clean 170. And I became really good friends with the Cuban coach. The name is Luis Lopez, and also he was the coach for Christian Escalante. That was the best super heavy in America. So I said, let's go train with him. My dad said, all right, you go there, stay 6 months with them, and we're gonna prepare for the World Championships, for the Junior Awards. So that's what I did. I went to Chile, spent 6 months with them, like training, learning a lot from the guy, pretty much doing whatever he was doing. I was trying to copy. And I was able to snatch 171 and clean and jerk 205, and I got my junior world medal.
Amazing. And did you receive any sort of retaliation from the Brazilian Federation for saying that you're going to go and train with this Cuban guy?
Not really, because you have to understand that back then there wasn't like a clear structure or how you do things. Right. You know, now it is a little bit more, and And so, I suffer a little bit when I move to different countries, train with different people, learn from different people for sure. Once you start like to develop yourself and get better, you have a lot of people that it's gonna hate you and it's gonna hate your job.
Yeah.
I think that's kind of natural, you know. That happens a lot to me, a lot, and I learn a lot through the process, you know, of fighting with different people. You know, people have different like opinions of different like topics or whatever. Like I was trying to do my best for me.
Yeah. So when you did travel there to train with them, I mean, it sounded like you made great progress. So what were some of the big changes that took place? Were they technical? Did you just train a lot more? Like what was different that allowed you to make such progress?
Sure, I think for sure the first one was a shock. You know, that it was a shock of how much they would train. You know. A couple period of times they would train 3 times a day. So we would train like 7 in the morning, 11 in the morning, and 5 in the afternoon. So in the couple first weeks, for me, it was a shock, man. My nervous system was shocked. Like I was in shock how much work they were doing. And I said, like, I need to get better on that. You know, I need to start like putting more work. So I think that was the first time that I saw like, I got to do that 24 hours. It's not like only the training, you know. Back then, when I was like 18, 17, I used to go like train once a day, sometimes like skip training. And then I realized, those guys are professionals, you know, whatever they do, it is professional. So the recovery is on point, the food is on point, everything is on point. It's a 24-hour work. And that's how I switch my mind. And right after that, that's what I do. Like pretty much what I do with my life is like 24 hours work. I don't ever like switch off. If I'm not training, I'm recovering. If I'm not like recovering, I'm eating. If I'm not eating, I'm sleeping. Pretty much like I live a pretty boring life, bro.
We've heard a few famous coaches say exactly that if you're not training, you should be sitting down. If you're not sitting down, you should be lying down. If you're not lying down, you should be asleep, like that sort of thing. So cool to hear it from you. But so one question quickly is how old are you at the moment then?
I'm 30, bro.
You're 30. So, you know, when we speak to athletes, it tends to be that their progress kind of curves like this. Like they make a lot of progress quickly and it gets harder and harder and harder. I remember speaking to Ilya and he said that he snatched 180 when he was 15. And then it took him like another 15 years to snatch 191 or something like that. So throughout your sort of teens, what were your snatching numbers? Like how long did it take you to snatch 180? 160, you know, you mentioned that you did 140 at that competition, but what was your progress like with numbers throughout those years?
So I still have the Pan American records under 17. I think that I snatch 145 and clean and jerk. Under 17. I think I snatched 145 and clean and jerk 175. I have to look at it. I don't remember.
And were you a super back then, or were you?
No. I was like a 94.
Skinny guy.
I was
94.
Yeah, I was a 94.
Right.
I started when I was 10. I was like 62, and then I moved fast to like 85, like 77, 85, and then 94. I stayed for a long time. I stayed 94 until probably when I was like 18 years old, and then I moved to 105, and I stayed a couple more years. But whenever I was on 105, I used to weigh like 108, 119, or maybe 110 kilos and cut like cut 5 kilos for the competition.
And do you remember your best lifts as a 105?
A 105, I think it was like 165 and 190 or 195, something like that. I always had like a really good snatch, and my clean and jerk I would suffer a lot on the first part, like standing up, because we thought that my legs were weak. And that's a good question. Like one thing that I changed when I started training with this guy was like, he said, don't open your hands in the clean. Keep your hands closed. I used to open with a open grip, and my elbows would come down. My back would like give up, so I couldn't stand up. Like my clean was horrible. I always had a super good jerk, but my clean was really weak. And so he said, let's fix that. So for a couple months, I didn't go heavy. I was just working on flexibility, try to keep a full grip. And once I connected that, like I was able to keep my elbows higher, keep like a upright position. And so I was able to use my legs, because that is very important when you do like a front squat. You can squat heavy, but if you don't clean in the same position, you're not going to be able to stand up. So I think that was one of the changes that we've done that really helped me to move and move some heavier weights.
Did you hear that, Josh, about front squat and how you clean?
Yeah,
Josh will front squat like 185 or something, and then he'll get pinned with like a 155 clean. You need to start front squatting deeper.
That's true. Hey, but just funny story. Like, I remember when I was preparing for a competition. I don't know if it was like junior awards or it was like under 17. And I told my training partner, I said, I'm going to do 170 kilos clean and jerk. And he said, Fernando, you don't even front squat 170 kilos. And I was like, fuck, you're right, man. You're right. Like, so it's not possible, bro. You got to front squat first. I said, you know what? You're right. You're right.
Yeah, I mean, just thinking about that one change you made to your technique that really helped. What about with the snatch? I mean, you seem like a natural snatcher. I mean, it's a beautiful lift. But were there any things you struggled with, and that when you finally made a correction? I mean, you're snatching 200 kilos, so I don't think it was quite like a straight process, right? It was probably up and down, up and down.
Absolutely. Like, I would say that one thing that it's hard to mention just one thing that we changed, but I think that the feeling of using my legs throughout the lift, that was something that we try like to address. I always had like some trouble with that. I used to use my back before, and we work a lot on that, like working on having the feeling of pushing with my legs, like pushing the floor with my legs while keeping the position. And another really important point that really helped me to lift even more was working on the positions like by itself. I would work drop snatch for a long time. So I was able to like really load my snatch balance, what do you call, like using my legs to drive and then control all the way down, not just like crashing all the way. And so I would do like a super load on that. I would overload this exercise. Sometimes I do like 20, 30 kilos more than I was able to snatch.
Wow.
So that will like really make me comfortable whenever I was snatching, That was something that really helped me.
And do you still do that with snatch balance? Like, you snatch 201 now. Are you snatch balancing 230 or something like that?
I can do like my best snatch balance is 230. But nowadays I'm not able to do it. I can do 220. I can do 220, and I'm just working this week a lot on drop snatches, trying to really stretch my hips, because I still feel like a little bit, not a little bit, actually quite a lot difference between the left leg and the right. The knee that I got the surgery, I'm still working, and we did some measurements, some tests. And I have like a 20% like difference of power out in the legs. So I'm working on that.
That's amazing. Yeah, I mean, I think you move incredibly fast, and you definitely hit better positions than most of the people that you compete against on the world stage. So, and you've mentioned a few times now that you need strength in certain positions. Do you think that you are somewhat limited, and it seems ridiculous me saying this to you because you're so strong, but do you feel like you're limited by strength to some extent? Is that the thing that you're trying to work on the most to beat the top guys to get that, that medal at the World Championships?
I don't think so, because my back squat is pretty high. My front squat is pretty high. I think I need to be a better athlete, be more flexible, improve my front rack, improve my technique, and really work on that. But it's really hard, sometimes it's really hard for you to understand how to lift more. Sometimes it can be like a psychological aspect. It can be like a lot of different things. It's very hard to say like what is the right one. So I think that's why we train so much, because you try to find the way, it's not like really clear. And especially like right now for me, like coming back from a surgery, I learned a lot, even more like about like recovery, how to work like in different angles, how to get stronger and all that. But it's a really tough question to answer. Like, what is the way to lift more? You know, like, do you need to get stronger? Sure, but how strong? Like, how strong? Like, I watched yesterday the video that you uploaded of Lasha doing like a back squat of 285 kilos. I can do that. It's not a problem for me. But he can squat. He can snatch 220. So for me, it's impossible to even think about it. You know, so it's very, very hard to say what is the right way.
Yeah, and I'm sure when you were really young, I don't know what you thought your potential was. I don't know if you ever thought you would snatch 200 or 201 and clean and jerk 242. But now, where you're at, what do you think your potential is? Do you think there's another 5 kilos in the snatch and clean and jerk, another 10? Like, what do you think
yellows
you can do?
Yellows and
I
greens.
really think, I really think, exactly. I really think that I have like 205 and 245. Like I missed 204. Like I wasn't able to hit a good position in 2017 in the World Championships in Anaheim. That was the medal that the other fat Iranian, he came to compete. We weren't expecting him to come.
Yeah,
and he
Ali
came
Husseini,
and took my medal. So that's not nice.
No.
Anyways, so I did a pretty good snatch with 200 kilos, and I missed 204. And I definitely had, like, whenever I lifted from the floor, I said, I had this one. Like that was my thought, and that's why I think that I missed the lift. Because whenever I lifted from the floor, I said, I have that. So I didn't finish the whole way the pull, and I didn't open my feet in the right place, and I missed the lift. So, but I definitely feel that I have 205, and I have 248, 247. I think that I've cleaned 247 before. I've cleaned 245, and I missed the jerk, like, barely. So I have that on me for sure.
Mm. You mentioned that you have, a big front squat and a big back squat, and we know that you've done 201, 242. What are your front squat and back squat maxes? And are these like true maxes or just heavy singles?
No, on the front squat, yes, it's a heavy max. But on the back squat, I think that I never hit like a really like a heavy that I said, oh, it's impossible for me to put even like 1 more kilo. So before the Olympics, I front squat 300 kilos.
Nice.
And I think that I have the video in my Instagram, and it was a good lift. And I think 2 months ago, I squatted here a hybrid 350 kilos, and that was the best that I pushed so far. But even the day that I did that, I have room for more, But my coach said, and I said, let's keep it there. It's not a problem. Because I doubled 320, and I said, look, today's feeling good. It's feeling light. So let's go 350. I was like, he said, let's go 340. I said, I'm not going to go 340. I'm going to go, like, either we go 350 or I'm going to stop. He said, okay, let's go 350. So I did 350, and it was quite like easy. I could have done more, but I said, no, not more, The risk, everything that we do, there is the risk and reward. If you put like a lot of weight in the back squat, it's a big risk to take it. Right. And the reward is not going to be that much. Yeah.
You mentioned as well that, with trying to improve, it's not necessarily just strength and not necessarily just technique. Sometimes it's psychological. And I think that the first time you ever snatched 200 kilos was in a competition. Yeah. What is that like when, your whole life, in the back of your mind, 200 kilos it separates the boys from the men, and you have to hit this lift in competition and you need it to medal or something like that. But in the back of your mind, you also know, like, this is 200. This is a big deal. Like, what's that like going on stage and doing that?
Man, that was beautiful, brother. That was so beautiful, because I've never touched this weight before. And it's so funny because actually, no, I've done snatch balance, and I did from high blocks, but I never tried from the floor. Never even like try like once in my life from the floor before we did in the competition.
Wow.
So that was like beautiful. Like the day of the competition, I'm really happy. I'm really excited, like something that I look for. That's why I train so much. That's why I feel so much pain. That's why I don't go to events. That's why I don't hang out with my family. That's the only reason, brother. That's the only reason. The day of the competition is the day of the day, man. So I'm really happy to be there. And sometimes I hear a couple athletes said, "Oh, man, I wish I was at the beach, or I wish I was in vacation. And whenever I'm competing, brother, there is no other place on earth that I wish I would be. The competition is the competition, you know.
Yeah.
So I'm really happy to be there, and I think it's the moment that some magic things happen, bro. Like, to be honest, like this 200 kilo snatch is something that it's unbelievable. It's unbelievable. Like, right now, like even now, like I train every day, like twice a day, and sometimes I put 200 kilos in the bar to do a snatch pull, and I said, how the fuck did I put this weight above my head?
Yeah.
You know, so it's a whole, like it's a process. You get back again, you know, and to believe and that you can do it and to perform. That's pretty much how it is, bro.
Yeah. And I mean, Seb's had the honor of seeing you in the back room at a major competition, but for people who haven't, what is it like when you're back there? Like, what's going through your head? Are you someone who gets really hyped up, really jacked up? Are you more like quiet and calm? Like, what's your demeanor like before you go on stage?
That's a great question. Like nowadays, I can observe a little bit better and I can enjoy the moment. But before, I would like be so terrified that and my first world championships, that I competed in the A group, I was so fucking confused. I was like, man, I'm already like snatching 150 kilos and 160, and it's so heavy. And I looked to my side. I think was Albegov and was Lovchav and was the Iranians as well. And I was like, they haven't even touched the bar. I was like, I'm training here like almost like I'm warming up with 160 and I'm sweating and I'm like dying. And the guys even like they haven't even put the weightlifting shoes. So I was like, there's something wrong here, you know, like what is going on? So it took me a while for me to get used to the A group, especially at the World Championships. So right now, I can enjoy. Definitely, I got super fired up. I got like excited, but I can look around and I can see like what is happening, like who is terrified, who is not, who is in good shape. I can definitely see that, you know. And the last World Championships were so funny because the Iranian, he was warming up right on my right side, and there wasn't Salim, it was the junior.
Ali
what was the name? Exactly. He was warming up on my side, and he started like screaming like Ali, Allah, yeah. And I was like 70 kilos in the bar, like, and I was like, man, this guy is not gonna do anything here, you know. He's screaming because. And Lasha was like a couple platforms there, super quiet, and like I said, fuck. And after that, he broke the world record. I guess Allah wasn't that day there, bro, to help the Iranians, you know. So
savage.
That was super funny. They were quiet, bro. They were super quiet.
Yeah. That's something that I wanted to ask about. I mean, I know that some of your favorite weightlifters are Akayev, Chigashev, Dimas. But what's it like training and not training, but competing against one of the all-time legends, Lasha Talakadze? I mean, is he just a competitor and that's all he is, or do you have time to kind of admire that he's doing things that no man has ever done before?
Absolutely, like absolutely. For me, it's a pleasure and an honor to compete with him. You know, he's doing things that no other human being has ever done before. So you definitely have to admire that, man. So always when I finish my competition, I'm in the backstage watching him like lift, and I'm always there to shake his hand and say congratulations, you've done a great job. You know, like, so for me it's really like impressive to be and watch him lift, and also that helps me to boost my training. I remember the other day, like I did 220 kilos, like clean and jerk. And I was like, yeah, that was a good lift. And then I opened up my cell phone, and I don't know if it was your guys' videos or Hook Grip. Somebody put a video of him snatching 220. I was like, what the fuck? What am I doing here, man? You know, let's get back to work. We need to train more. So it's something that I use like to boost my training for sure.
Well, you're in a unique position where, like, when Seb and I think about Lasha hitting 220 or potentially 225, it's just a big number. Like, we can't conceptualize how difficult and how heavy that is. When you're snatching 200, I mean, he's snatching like, you know, you're 100%. It's 90% for him. So I think you can just relate so much more. So it must be a really unique situation to see him take 220 and possibly more weight. So that's really cool.
Yeah, and
Absolutely.
it must help.
Absolutely.
I always thought, like, you know, before last year, the modern world record was 214 with Salimi. And if he hadn't come and started moving the world record back up again, it would probably still be there. And for you, you know, if you're trying to snatch 205 and the world record is 214, it's like this limit, and it gets harder and harder to approach it. Then as soon as it goes from 214 to 220, it's like, okay, so 210 is, you know, it's just 210. It's 10 kilos under the world record, and you start believing that it's there. So I can imagine that it helps just in that way as well.
Absolutely, absolutely, and I think that was one of the factors who helped me to improve. Remember that I told the story that I went to train with Christian Scalanci was the same. I used to snatch 160, and the guy was like snatching all the time 180, 185, and I was like, if this guy can do it, like I can do it as well, you know. So once you start like observing even more, you said, oh, that's possible, you know, like that's something that I can do it, and absolutely, like he's pushing the limits. And so before 200 kilos is a magical number. Now, okay, it's a really high number. Only a few guys in the world can do it. But you can say, oh, the guy snatches like 20 kilos more, you know. So 205, it's definitely like doable, you know.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm curious to hear it, because you've trained with other teams, but you've been coached by your brother and your dad for pretty much your whole career. Have you trained with any other countries or teams or, you know, coaches who have really helped you develop? Like, what's it been like, you know, just working with your family for the most part this entire time?
It's great, man. It's great, like, because they know myself, like what I like, what I don't like. Sometimes it's tough because you have your brother with you and you want to kill him and he wants to kill you, but I think it's part of life. But I had like this Cuban coach who that was the coach of Christian Scalanci. That was the coach of Eduardo Guadamur. I don't know if you guys remember. He was like 94, really strong, really strong from Ecuador. He used to snatch 170 and clean and jerk like 205, 210. And so there was the coaches who really helped me like to develop myself. But I think that I got out the how can I say? I would say the big balls from my family for sure.
Yeah. So just to go back to some of those athletes that you like, and I don't know if it's still the same, but I remember reading it was Akayev, it was Chigashev, it was Dimas, and those guys, they have a few things in common. And one of the things that they have in common is that they're not pretty lifters. Like, they're very rugged. Chigashev is one of the best snatchers ever, but it looks weird. Akayev has a rounded back, his knees touch when he stands. Dimas throws his head back. Why do you like those guys so much?
I think that I like the attitude, you know. They are like they are like dogs, you know. They put the work, and on the competition they really perform. I think Chigachev's snatch is one of the most beautiful that I've ever seen. You know, it's the barbell path, the way that he moves. You know, I think it's really good, and I think it's the attitude. You know, they really have like a good attitude as far as being an athlete. You really have to like develop that, or I think not even develop, or either you have it or you don't. You know, it's as simple as that. I remember in 2011 at the World Championships that was in France, and that Akayev beat Klokov. And I remember at the what do you call, like, the party, like when they close the competition.
The closing ceremony.
Closing, exactly. So everybody was drinking, everybody was like partying and getting crazy. Klokov was dancing like crazy, and Akayev got in the room. And I remember, like, everybody was dressed like a clowns, you know, like everybody put the best costume and everybody like retarded, you know. So Akayev he had like the Russian jacket, you know, as a sportsman, and he just walked and he stopped at the door, like looking everybody. So everybody stopped partying, look at him, and then he just left. Like he said, that's not for me, you know. That's I think. Yeah, that's like, he just didn't say a word. He said, that's not for me. I'm going to go back to my room and sleep. Yeah.
Have you seen the video of him? He's in somewhere in Russia, and he's in the car, and they're just like doing donuts, and he's firing an AK-47 like out the window. And it's just like, this guy is so crazy.
Yeah. No, yeah, those are the guys that you don't mess around for sure.
No.
You know better. You know better. Whenever you see them, you know better.
Yeah. And I mean, you've had such a long career up to this point. Do you have any other interesting stories that have kind of taken places at these competitions? You know, stuff that sticks out.
I have so many, brother. I have so many that it's hard even to say it. I have a lot for sure.
Yeah. Well, at the end, if we run out of questions, I'm definitely going to try and get some more of those stories out of you.
Absolutely.
But I was interested. You know, I've seen some results from you at Pan American Championships or Games, and you'll total like 430, and someone else, like the silver medalist, will total 375. Like they're 55 kilos below you sometimes.
Yeah.
Has it been difficult for you to really push yourself internationally at these competitions, because you have to follow yourself, and also, you know, half of these competitions are in America, so it's like there isn't anyone there that you're seeing regularly lifting as much as you. I mean, Kane Wilkes, you know, snatches 186, clean and jerks 230. He's strong, but he's not snatching as much as you, and he's not clean and jerking as much as you. Has that been difficult?
Yeah, absolutely. I think that was at one point that we were like trying to figure out how I could like compete at the European Championships, and I said, "Fuck, that's not possible. You cannot go there and compete with them." So I remember that I used to talk with my coach and with my brother or with the Cuban coach. Said, "Let's take it as it is the European Championships." Mm-hmm. So if we were lucky, the Europeans will come like a week or two.
Hey, sorry guys, my bad, bro.
No problem.
No, this is perfect.
I hope the died. Recording's okay. I'm sure it will be, but
fuck, my bad.
We'll wait and see. We'll wait and see. All right, let's just jump straight back in. We were talking about you being just way ahead of everyone at the Pan Am level. I mean, I can't remember exactly where you got to. You said that you couldn't compete at Europeans, obviously, even though Sarab Maradi competed at Pan Ams at one time in 2016. But even so, so you think that has held you back somewhat?
I think so. To see like the strong guys competing, I think that will really help me if I see that like in a regular basis, because I only see them at the World Championships. But even though like I will get the results from the European Championships, and if I was lucky, the Europeans would be like 2-3 weeks before the Pan Ams. Yeah. So I will just pretend that I'm competing at the Europeans. You know, I said, like, I will get the results, like whatever, like 205, 245, whoever won the competition. And I was like, let's see how like I can place myself. Let's see how close I'm gonna get to a medal, or you know. So I'll play this way. I'll never like look to the Pan American athletes. Not like talking bad about them, but I was just like always aiming as high as I could.
Mm. Kind of interested as well, and it's a shame we probably got like 10-15 minutes, and I feel like maybe we should just do another podcast at some point and talk about like actual training and programming and that sort of stuff. But before we get into that, we'll do that another time, whatever. I'm kind of interested to know what's going on with you and Hybrid Performance. Like, how did that collaboration work? Because you know, Steffi Cohen and Hayden Bowe are really well known in the strength community. They've built a really incredible business. Did they approach you, or did you approach them? Like, what happened there?
Yeah, and Fernando, just really quick, just before we even get to that, what kind of got you in to move to Miami? When did you end up moving? When did you end up moving to Florida? Like, how'd that all take place? Because I know Hybrid is kind of located out of there.
Yeah, I think it's like different reasons why. But I would say like in 2017, at the beginning of 2017 was when I moved to Miami. At the end of 2016, I had Olympic weightlifting gym in Brazil. We had a CrossFit and also martial arts. And one day, that was at the end of the year, we closed the gym like super late, as always, like 10:30, and we were driving home. Just like long story short, like my brother was robbed in front of my house. Like they put a pistol in his face and all that, and said, you know what, like it's just not worth it. You know, like let's go to US. So for me, it would be a really easy transitioning because I spent 4 years here. I went to college in Lindenwood. I spent 4 years in Missouri.
Did you?
Yes, yes, I
Oh,
did. Like
with Coach Ma.
Jeff Whitmer.
Jeff Whitmer was the reason why I went there, because he was
He's a good lifter.
we competed together in 2007 Pan Am Games, and
As a 94.
as a 94, yeah, he placed I
Hey.
think four for like he did 157 and 197 if I'm not mistaken. Super good lifter, and I placed last. So we became friends there at this competition, and a couple years later we found out that they were offering scholarships, and back then the first coach was Derek Johnson, and
Yeah.
that's where I started training. So was me was Jeff Woodmer, Derek Johnson, and myself, and probably like one more lifter. So my whole preparation for the Olympic Games in London was training. I was studying full time, and so for me it would be an easy transitioning coming for US again. So, anyways, I spent like 2010 to 2014 at college. I graduated, went back to Brazil, went to the Olympics, and opened my business there. We had 2 gyms, and we were doing super good. So after the Olympics, that happened, and I said, you know what, it's just not worth it. Let's move. I said, all right. I had a super good friend of my good friend here is Eduardo Ferrino.
Yeah.
He was the owner of the Ferrino Sports Fitness Club, and he called me and said, Fernando, come over here. Let's open a business together. That was 2017. I was like, all right, I'm moving, bro. I called him. I said, I'm moving. He said, okay, just come. So he had a really nice facility right in front of the water. So I was taking care of the Olympic weightlifting program. He had like a strength and conditioning. He used to train a couple pro athletes, and he went in like in a different direction in another business venture. And he offered me, hey, would you like to buy the gym? I said, man, I have no condition financially, and next year is going to be the Olympic Games, bro. Like I have the Olympic Games coming like in a few years. I'll be traveling. For me, it's impossible to manage a gym right now.
Yeah.
So back then, Steffi and Hayden, they came to train a couple of days at my gym. So we became good friends. We started talking, and one day, like I said, I'm not gonna buy the gym, so I need a new gym to train. So I was like, oh, Steffi Hayden are super close to me. It's a really nice facility. They just opened like a beautiful, like brand new facility with like only like brand new equipment. So I reached out to them, said, hey, I need a place to train. Can I use your guys' gym? Said, yeah, it's gonna be a pleasure. Come over here. Let's sit down and let's have a talk. So we were talking for a little bit, going back and forth. They said, would you like to work for us? I said, yeah, I would love to. She was like, yeah, you have to do that. You have to do the online training. You have to work at the gym. I said, I'm 100% down. Let's do it. Let's start. So that's how like I enjoy a hybrid. And for me, it's been a blast so far. Like I only been there for a couple months, but it's been like super good. Steffi and Hayden are super nice people. You know, they always help me in any way that I need. And pretty much that's where I am right now.
That's amazing. I feel like I want to come. I need to fly out to Florida
guys,
at some
whenever
point.
Whenever you guys want. It's nice.
Yeah, that's amazing. So I'm trying to think, because I kind of want to get into programming, but there's probably not time. But there is another thing outside of programming. Is you mentioned that you basically, and I don't know if you said this as a bit of a joke or something, but you said that once you get a World Championships medal or an Olympics medal, you'll retire. Is it really as simple as that? Like get the medal and out, or is it more like I just need to get that and then I'll continue, but like I just have to get that?
I need to get that for sure, because I feel that out like these past years I've been so close, playing like placing fifth, fourth, and different like things happen. Even in Anaheim, the other fat Iranian, he's not supposed to compete. You know, he's not supposed to compete there. He was banned for doping, and then he's supposed to be like 12 years, and they went out like I like
he got banned in 2007, and it was supposed to be like a lifetime ban, and then they let him back.
Yeah, exactly. So I was like, man, I mean, like you cannot rely on lucky, you know, but sometimes it's gonna be nice, you know, to just have a little bit, you know.
Yeah.
But I don't look to the other sides trying to like point fingers or blaming. I try to control what I can control, and or that is training, that is putting a good performance. So that's what I'm trying to do. But I feel that I'm super close to get like the world medal and the Olympic medal for sure.
Yeah, and well, I know we have a short amount of time, and this might be a long question, but I know you had knee surgery, a couple years ago, and the Olympics were obviously postponed. What's your preparation been like? What do you expect? Like, what are your thoughts with kind of how these last few years have kind of shaken out?
I think for me it was good that the Olympics got postponed because last year I finished with 192 on the snatch and 232 on the clean and jerk, and that's for sure is not enough. So for sure, if I need more time to be 100% in shape. So for me, I think I only see the good part of that. I have one more year to prepare to be back again to 200, 205, 240, 245. So right now, this past I would say 3-4 months, I did like a crazy amount of single leg work, doing a lot of PT, doing a lot of jumps, trying to be back like in the best shape possible, pretty much.
Yeah, I think right now you sit in 5th in terms of Roby points of all supers. And, Ali Davoudi is one of the guys in front of you. And realistically, like, he always makes huge jumps and he always misses. So, like, he's no one to worry about, I don't think. And then there's 2 Armenians, so only one of them can go. And knowing what Armenia is like and knowing what's going on with all the bands, like, it's Armenia. So there's a very good chance Gor Minassian won't be there, or he'll be there and he won't be lifting as well as he could in the past. So I think behind Lasha, I mean, there's no one right now who obviously is going to take the second place. Like, there's a bunch of decent lifters, but no one's like guaranteed to medal behind Lasha. So I think with one more year's training,
exactly. I just need to be more consistent on my numbers, and once I start hitting like more 190, 230 in training, I know that I can put some good numbers in competition, because usually I don't put like higher numbers in training than in the competition. We do like our training cycle to peak at the competition, because I feel if I try to peak in training, I won't have like enough time to recover for the competition. So usually that's how we do it. So once I start doing like 190 and 230, and I'll be posting the videos, so then you guys can see that Fernando is in good shape.
Amazing. All right. Well, unfortunately, I think we're going to have to wrap up. But this has been, it's been fantastic. We say this all the time whenever we have athletes on the podcast, that sometimes athletes, they're amazing to watch at weightlifting, but then they're not necessarily the best people to talk to. But you are one of the best people to talk to. So
thank you, brother.
We're very grateful for having you on. Where can we send people? I mean, is it to Hybrid? Is it to your Instagram? Like, where are the places to let the people go?
Absolutely. You can send to Hybrid. You guys can go to their website if you want to train with me. If you're in Miami, if you're in Florida, just come train at Hybrid. If you want to check it out my Instagram as well, I always like upload some new videos, and I'll be also watching the Weightlifting House for sure.
That's awesome. Well, guys, I'll put the links to everything down below. Make ssure you don't follow Josh at Josh_PhilWL. That's PHLWL, or at Instagram at Joshua Gibson. But do follow me at Seb Ostrovich. That's with a WICZ, and at Weightlifting House everywhere else. We appreciate you tuning in, and we'll catch you all on another episode of the Weightlifting House podcast. A quick message to you all that after 2 years of requests, ever since we released the House Barbell, we are now ready to reveal the Weightlifting House plates. To find out more about the specs and to pre-order yourself a set or some individual pairs, check out the link in the description.